The Onyx Boox Palma 2 has never looked, well, more the same. It's pretty much the same thing on the outside, as it features the same overall build quality and still hasn't added a SIM card, which I personally think would have changed the entire industry had they done that, seeing as there's only one other player in the game that is even making e-paper smartphones, bigme. So what do we have here? It is a phone-sized unit with some pretty impressive specs behind it. Octa-core processor, 6 gigs of RAM, etc. We'll get into the comparison between the first gen and the second gen in a minute. The build is gorgeous, featuring a truck bed liner flock sprayed matte backing with a beautiful texture, a camera bump, an extra function button, and an SD card tray, and a speaker and microphone on the bottom as well as USB-C. So circling back to the inside of this unit, how is it different than the first one? While using the spec sheet pulled from their website, it seems they've pretty much just had one of those blanket turnovers from the first gen to the second. It's the same from top to bottom, except for the upgraded octa-core processor. The weight, the thickness, the battery, it all just carried over. And very non-characteristic of the brand, they didn't add additional gigs of RAM or storage, even though devices years old now, like the Hisense A9 Pro, have already introduced 8 gigs plus 256 gigs onboard storage. They did add a few things. They've increased the Android version. As we explained in the past, it is impossible for e-reader manufacturers to upgrade. They've added fingerprint unlock, a fingerprint reader on the power button. They have also increased the price $34 for the unit. So with that, let's look at this non-smartphone looking unit and see what's going on. If you guys want to see the full review of the Palma, check the video card up above. And why I say that is not a cop-out excuse that we're not going to do our best on this one, but this unit is just so blatantly similar to the Palma 1, it's not even funny. We went over the differences in the two units just a second ago if you guys are scrubbing through the video, but man, they really just didn't do anything to this. They did a few things, as you saw. The beginning had a few minor changes, but it mostly situates itself around the price tag, to be honest, and that, of course, wasn't there on the previous unit. But this drop shadow has not been fixed or addressed. There is a massive gap between the screen and the top cover layer of this thing. They didn't add note-taking, they didn't add a SIM card, and you might even say, well, why are you mentioning note-taking? Well, I mean, why make a phone without a SIM card? So there's levels of absurdity in our industry that are questionable, but there's also things like maybe they could have added a Wacom layer. That would have been very interesting. Maybe they could have added a SIM card or a dual SIM. Maybe they could have made a color variant. There's so many things that they could have done with the Palma 2, and they just sidestepped all those ideas and really didn't do anything in the end. Now we'll just look at over a little bit of what this is. Now for the beginners of it all, this is not an e-reader. This is an e-reader. This would be an e-book reader, something that is primarily used for reading books. And we'll give you a little bit of an example as to why this isn't an e-reader and why this isn't a phone. Starting with the overall shape and layout, you can see it looks exactly like a smartphone. It has a smartphone earpiece at the very top. It has a overall lengthwise biased bar shape. It has Google Play on board. It has a document scanning camera. It has a fingerprint unlock. It's got volume controls. It's got stereo speakers, one shared with the earpiece, one at the bottom. It's got speed modes. It just has so much that screams phone to the unit. Now let's compare it with the e-reader. It has an e-paper screen, sure, but computer monitors now have e-paper screens. You can read ebooks on this, and that's pretty much about it. It shares more with non-e-readers than e-readers themselves. So with that, what can you do with the Palma 2? Well, you can do everything because you have Google Play. You have millions of applications at your fingertips. Because you have things like tools and side-loading APK files, if you don't have something like a calculator, maybe you don't like that one, you like more of a scientific calculator, you can side-load one in. This thing is super open for you. You can go here and now you have your internal storage. So what this is your internal storage, and this allows you to do anything. You can see out of the 128 gigs on board, we only get 97, which is a massive hit. You actually get a quarter of it. A quarter. You can see we didn't sideload anything. Everything's 0. You get a quarter of it dedicated to the UI. Yes, you do have an SD card slot. You can put an SD card in there, but now you got to buy an SD card and put one in there. This has the ability to do anything. If you put APKs, if you put videos and music and images, we're going to show you all that in a little bit. You can do all that on here. It really is completely limitless when it comes to the functionality of what you can do. Looking at Google Play, because for these devices, the non-e-reader crowd, Google Play is critical to the success of these units. Man, I just can't get over that drop shadow. Just check it out, guys. Look how deep that is. It almost looks like a sunken screen. And a lot of people might say, well, we're nitpicking. Well, I mean, kind of, yeah, that's our job. You can see the screen right there where it ends. We'll zoom in for you right there. That's a deep screen. This is the largest drop shadow of any modern device we have ever seen, and that's not a exaggeration. With Google Play, you can download anything. You can download apps, you can download games, you can download books, you can go over to Google Books, in which case you get ebooks, audiobooks, manga, genres, top selling, anything you want. It's an endless amount of content. In fact, it would be argued that Google Play is actually even better than Amazon. It can be used on any single device. It's completely agnostic. They have tons of integrations for multiple languages, multiple content. You get everything under one roof. It's quite nice, in fact. I personally like Google Play books better than Amazon books. It's just a personal thing of mine, but they're both good ecosystems, but for the most part, Google Play just seems a lot more current and fun and fresh, and typically devices that have Google Play can also play games and do other lifestyle applications, so it's just nice to have everything under one roof. Instead of a structured cinematic approach, I was told we're just going to do more of a candid look at the usability of this thing. So if we open something like this, I don't know, Final Fantasy VII Remake Strategy Guide, you can see that this is more of an ebook experience. Now when you swipe like this a little bit, you can peek the page. Now you might be saying, well, that's kind of slow. It's not what I'm kind of expecting out of a tablet. Well, you're absolutely right, and that's why we live and die by this. The eink Center. We have HD, balanced, fast, ultra fast, regal. You have color filter. You have all this stuff, and we'll show you a comparison when we get into videos on this. You can see HD mode looks phenomenal. That looks insane, but when you swipe pages now, it's very slow. It's very slow and sluggish, and it refreshes a lot because it's trying to give you the best look, but it comes at a detriment to the speed. So what we have to do is find a little bit of a balance. So we'll go back to eink Center like so, and then we'll go balance, fast, ultra fast. I think ultra fast, when you want to just get to the point, it's a lot better. It does make the screen look a little bit worse, but you can up the dark color enhancement, a little bit of light color filter, and you can go back to it, and now you get a good experience. Now when you get to things like some imagery here, you'll see that it's kind of dark, and that is because they leave it to you to change everything. So we'll have to go back to the eink Center once more, and we'll have to change the contrast. For example, if we go down in light color filter, up in light color filter, and then get back out, it's going to change things every single time we do it. If we go to HD mode, you get those highlights and lowlights back. You have to kind of find an even space right about, maybe reduce the light color filter right there. Now you start to get some depth on the image. So it really is going to be about the way you make the unit work with what piece of media. If you're running an ebook, well, it's not very demanding. You don't need too much to worry about. But then when you get into things like images, etc., it's going to change the game. You're going to have to really change your experience to coincide with what you want to see. See, that pinch and zoom was awful. So if I'm on a PDF that requires a lot of pinch and zooms, it's not even a question. You need ultra fast, because now ultra fast is going to be just like it says, ultra fast. So it's going to be very muscle memory-esque when you go from your smartphone to this, that you can pinch and zoom and you can say how much spirit does he have, how much vitality. You just get right in there, get to the point, and away you go. If you're reading at night, don't worry, they have glow light, and they have 2 colors of glow light, technically endless colors of glow light unless you want to break down mathematically each and every combination, but they have 2 different intensities, I'll say. So you get orange, you get blue, and you get a mixture of both. You can mix them as you see fit, and you get a volume control as well because it does have multimedia. Again, we'll get into that when we get into the video section. The sidebar will coincide with the user selectable volume dial right here as well. So overall, the usability of it is pretty quick, and as you can see here, it navigates very quickly as well. So if you're doing things like going back into Google Play and then you go to your library and you swipe up and you want to download a manga, and then you go back and maybe you click the e-ink center, that all happens very quick, and it's just a very clean experience, and it's a very good approach to an execution of a device that is trying to be a smartphone, even though it falls short of the only thing that makes a smartphone, which is the wireless communication via data services. This one can link up to a phone or a Wi-Fi hotspot or something and become a phone to the degree where you can use WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger calling, but you won't be able to send text messages and call people and receive phone calls via a phone number unless you go through different apps like Viber and all that other stuff. But as it stands, it's not a phone, so just we have to drive that home. Now, a lot of times on devices that have cameras that are e-paper, it is earmarked for DocuScan and DocuScan only. However, this unit has a dedicated camera as well, which we're going to check out. The unit fits very nicely in your jeans pocket, front or back, however gets a little bit cumbersome, unwieldy, and clunky when you have the attached case on board, as it loses that kind of slim form factor. The camera is adequate, and it does default to ultra-fast mode because any other mode doesn't really make sense. And yes, the sensor is color, so any pictures or videos you do take will end up being color. It's just that you can't see the color on the screen because the screen itself is black and white, and that is the only way your eyes can translate what you are seeing. It's got a very nice hold to the unit as well. It feels great in the palm of your hand, hence the name, I would imagine. The Flock Matte Truck Bed Liner spray on the back is highly textured. It is impossible to drop this thing. The camera bump isn't too prominent either, so it doesn't get in the way. And overall, the controls are very accessible, as well as both sides of the screen with your fingers. The sound is quite loud, as it has 2 speakers, one at the bottom and one sharing with the earpiece. It also has pretty fluid video, all things considered, as you can see from this dash cam stock footage we took. Even with a high degree of motion and tons of elements on screen, the overall point of the video was not lost. There's not much to say about the Palma 2. It's great. But so was the Palma 1, which is the same thing in mostly every conceivable way. This unit is simply just yet another release of the same product. If you can find the Palma 1 on a third-party site, we would recommend that one due to the cost savings. But basically it all comes down to this question: do you need Android 13 or not? If the answer is yes, get the 2. If the answer is no, get the 1. Pretty much as simple as that. Thank you to Onyx for sending us this sample, and thank you to everyone for stopping by.